Did you know that the first hour after waking up can determine whether you'll live to 90 or beyond? It sounds unbelievable, but it's true. Most people unknowingly sabotage their longevity before they even finish breakfast. In this video, I'll reveal the 7 morning habits shared by those who consistently live well into their 90s. And habit 4 takes just 30 seconds, but could add years to your life. Let me introduce you to Walter. At 65, he saw his friends facing serious health challenges, heart problems, cognitive decline, and mobility issues. But today, at 93, Walter still lives independently, drives, and volunteers at the local community garden. His secret? A morning routine that changed his life. Despite a family history of early mortality, Walter's daily habits transformed his health trajectory. Back when Walter attended a health seminar at 65, he learned about the importance of morning routines. Inspired, he adopted 7 simple but powerful habits that kept him thriving while his peers declined. When asked how he maintained his vitality, Walter didn't hesitate. "What I do in the first hour after waking up has saved my life." Now I'm going to share Walter's life-changing secrets with you. Whether you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, these morning habits can help you gain energy, stay independent, and extend your life. Are you ready to unlock the 7 habits that could transform your health after 60? Let's dive in and take charge of your mornings and your longevity. Habit 1, immediate hydration. Imagine this. You've just woken up, but inside your body, something critical is happening. If you haven't had water yet, your blood is thickening, putting dangerous pressure on your heart and brain. This isn't just a minor inconvenience. It's a significant health risk, especially as we age. The very first thing centenarians do upon waking isn't checking their phone or turning on the TV, it's drinking water. Why? Because the timing of hydration is crucial. Leading nephrologists and longevity researchers at Harvard Medical School have found that overnight dehydration accelerates aging by a staggering 31%. Dr. Jessica Rothman, the director of renal health at Harvard, explains, "During sleep, your body becomes progressively dehydrated, creating a condition we call morning blood sludging. This forces your heart to work significantly harder and damages small blood vessels in the brain and kidneys. This damage accumulates over time and dramatically accelerates aging. This phenomenon is especially concerning because the body is in a state of mild dehydration after about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Your blood becomes thicker, your heart works harder, and tiny capillaries can suffer damage, especially in vulnerable organs like the kidneys and brain." Real-life proof. Sylvia's story. Take Sylvia, a 72-year-old woman who was facing chronic kidney issues, constant fatigue, and memory lapses. Her doctors were even considering dialysis as her kidney function was declining. Then Sylvia made a simple but powerful change. She began drinking 16 ounces of water immediately upon waking, even before getting out of bed. Just 60 days later, her kidney function had improved by 28%. Her doctor was stunned, asking what new medication she was on. Sylvia simply replied, "Just water first thing in the morning." This small habit completely transformed her health. How to implement this habit? Starting tomorrow, place a full glass of water on your nightstand before bed. The moment you open your eyes before your feet touch the floor, drink the entire glass. It's important that the water is room temperature because cold water can shock your system, which is not ideal first thing in the morning. Make this a non-negotiable part of your routine, just like brushing your teeth. By hydrating immediately, you give your body a head start. Your organs, especially your heart and kidneys, are desperately waiting for hydration after hours of sleep. Don't make them wait another minute. Centenarians around the world don't consider this habit optional. They see it as essential to maintaining longevity and vitality. Can you commit to this simple practice? Start tomorrow morning and make immediate hydration the first step toward a healthier, longer life. Habit 2, exposure to natural morning light. Are you unknowingly sabotaging your circadian rhythm every morning? If you're not getting natural light within 30 minutes of waking up, you're missing out on one of the most powerful longevity triggers ever discovered. According to the National Institute on Aging, Morning sunlight exposure within the first half hour after waking up increases melatonin production later in the day by a whopping 73%. You might be wondering why that matters. Melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. It's a key regulator of your body's internal clock. It helps maintain mental clarity, stabilizes mood, and even protects against cognitive decline. Dr. Andrew Peterson, a leading researcher on circadian health, explains, morning sunlight exposure sets off a cascade of hormonal processes that affect everything from sleep quality to metabolism and even cognitive function throughout the next 24 hours. Missing this morning light trigger is linked to a 37% higher risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases after age 70. But let's make this personal. Consider Benjamin's story. At 75, Benjamin was battling chronic insomnia that had plagued him for decades. He had tried everything, from prescription sleep aids to expensive supplements, but nothing provided long-term relief. One day, his doctor suggested a simple change. Spend 10 minutes outside immediately after waking, no matter the weather. Benjamin took the advice. He sat on his porch each morning with his coffee instead of staying indoors. The results were astonishing. Within 2 weeks, he was falling asleep faster and sleeping more soundly through the night. But it didn't stop there. His blood pressure dropped by 15 points, and the afternoon energy crashes he'd struggled with for years vanished. Why is morning light so crucial? Natural morning light triggers your retinal cells to send signals to the brain, kickstarting your biological clock. This signal helps to 1. Regulate cortisol levels, keeping stress in check throughout the day. 2. Enhance mood by boosting serotonin, the feel-good hormone. 3. Improve metabolic function, reducing the risk of weight gain and metabolic disorders. 4. Strengthen circadian alignment, leading to better sleep quality and mental acuity. How to implement this habit? Tomorrow morning, make it your mission to get natural sunlight within 30 minutes of waking up. Even on cloudy days, outdoor light is 50 to 100 times brighter than indoor lighting, providing critical wavelengths your brain needs. If mobility is an issue, sitting by an open window can still make a difference. During winter months or on extremely dark days, consider a medical-grade light therapy lamp as a supplement. However, remember that natural light is always superior. This habit isn't just about better sleep. It's about resetting your biological clock to slow down aging at a cellular level. Tomorrow, step outside and give your body the signal it's waiting for. Are you ready to start this simple yet transformative habit? Habit 3. Gentle movement before breakfast. What you do before your morning coffee could determine how your joints feel at 80 or beyond. Most people make the critical mistake of staying sedentary until they've had breakfast, not realizing they're triggering inflammatory processes that accelerate joint deterioration. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that gentle morning movement can reduce joint deterioration by up to 65% in seniors. Dr. Lisa Monroe, Chief of Geriatric Medicine, states, "Our research shows that morning movement before eating activates a process called autophagy, essentially a cellular cleaning process crucial for joint longevity. We've measured dramatic differences in inflammatory markers between seniors who move before breakfast versus those who eat first." The power of movement, Harriet's story meet. Harriet, a 68-year-old woman scheduled for knee replacement surgery after years of debilitating arthritis pain. As a last effort to avoid surgery, her physical therapist suggested a simple change. 7 minutes of gentle movement immediately after waking, before eating anything. Harriet was skeptical at first, but within just 3 months, her pain had reduced so significantly that her surgeon canceled the operation. She felt more mobile, flexible, and pain-free than she had in years. "I thought my active days were over," Harriet said. "Now I can play with my grandchildren again." And it all started with just a few minutes of morning movement. Why move before breakfast? When you sleep, your joints stiffen as your synovial fluid becomes more viscous. Gentle movement before eating. 1. Stimulates circulation, warming up stiff joints and muscles. 2. Activates autophagy, clearing out damaged cells and reducing inflammation. 3. Increases joint lubrication, reducing pain and stiffness throughout the day. 4. Wakes up the body, enhancing mobility and energy for the rest of the day. Your morning movement routine. After drinking water but before breakfast, spend 5 to 10 minutes doing simple, joint lubricating movements. Ankle circles. Gently rotate each ankle. Knee bends. Slowly bend and straighten your knees. Shoulder rolls. Ease tension by rolling your shoulders forward and backward. Gentle swaying. Stand and sway side to side to wake up your core and lower back. Toe touches. If you can, bend forward slightly or touch your toes. The goal isn't to break a sweat, it's to wake up your joints and get the synovial fluid moving. The difference in how you feel throughout the day will be profound. Commit to this simple routine. Can you feel the stiffness in your body each morning? That's your body telling you it needs gentle activation. Those who maintain joint health at 85 or 90 aren't genetically lucky. They've built simple but powerful habits like this one. Will you make the commitment to gentle morning movement tomorrow? Imagine moving with ease and playing with your grandchildren well into your 80s. All it takes is a few minutes each morning. Are you ready to prioritize your joint health? Habit 4, the 32 breathing practice. This 30-con breathing habit is the single most powerful longevity practice nearly all 90-plus-year-olds share. Yet most people ignore it completely. What if I told you that the way you breathe in the morning sets your stress response for the entire day, potentially adding or subtracting years from your life? Researchers from Blue Zones regions where people routinely live past 100 documented that centenarians practice specific breathing patterns that reduce cellular stress by up to 48%. Dr. Michael Cohen, who studies longevity practices in Sardinia, Italy, reports, "We've measured significant differences in inflammatory markers and stress hormones between those who practice intentional morning breathing and those who don't. This brief practice appears to activate the vagus nerve, essentially telling your body it's safe to allocate resources to longevity rather than survival." In Sardinia's mountain villages, where men routinely live into their late 90s, Douglas observed a morning ritual among the elders. Every morning before anything else, they would stand outside their homes and perform a series of deep rhythmic breaths. When researchers measured their heart rate variability and cortisol levels, they found patterns similar to those of much younger individuals. One 96-year-old shepherd explained, "I breathe in the morning to prepare my body for a good day. If I skip this, I feel it by noon. My energy drops, my thinking clouds." Here's the 30-second practice that could transform your health. Immediately after your morning water, and preferably while getting natural light, perform the 478 breathing technique. Inhale quietly through your nose for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7 seconds, then exhale completely through your mouth for 8 seconds, making a whooshing sound. Repeat this cycle 3-4 times. That's it. 30 seconds that signals your body to activate longevity pathways rather than stress responses. Does this sound too simple to be effective? The science is clear. This brief practice has measurable effects on blood pressure, inflammation, and stress hormones. Will you invest these 30 seconds tomorrow morning? It might be the highest return on investment you'll ever get for your health. Are you breathing fully right now as you watch this? Probably not. Most of us breathe shallowly, using only 30% of our lung capacity. Start changing that pattern tomorrow morning. Habit 5, protein and fiber-rich breakfast. Is your breakfast silently sabotaging your chances of living past 90? The truth is, what most Americans eat for breakfast is actively accelerating their aging process, and many don't realize it until it's too late. Nutritional gerontologists have identified specific breakfast patterns among long-lived populations that reduce inflammatory markers by up to 53%. Dr. Valerie Richardson, lead researcher at the Longevity Nutrition Institute, explains, "The first meal of the day sets metabolic patterns that influence everything from insulin sensitivity to microinflammation levels. Our research shows that a morning meal containing at least 25 grams of protein and 8 grams of fiber creates a metabolic environment that supports cellular repair rather than cellular damage." Consider Gerald's experience. At 68, he was diagnosed with prediabetes and rising inflammatory markers. Despite not being overweight, his doctor predicted he would develop full diabetes within 2 years. Instead of immediately starting medication, Gerald worked with a nutritionist to transform his breakfast. He switched from his usual toast and coffee to a protein and fiber-rich morning meal. 6 months later, his blood markers had normalized completely. "The only thing I changed was breakfast," Gerald emphasized. "My doctor couldn't believe it was possible to reverse the trends just by changing one meal." Here's your morning meal formula for longevity. Combine a high-quality protein source, eggs, Greek yogurt, or plant-based protein if you prefer, with fiber-rich foods, berries, chia seeds, oats, or vegetables. Add a source of healthy fat like avocado, nuts, or olive oil. Avoid refined carbohydrates completely before 10 a.m. They trigger insulin spikes that accelerate aging. Can you make this change tomorrow morning? The beauty of this habit is that it doesn't require additional time. You're already eating breakfast. You're just switching what you eat to activate longevity pathways instead of inflammatory ones. Is continuing your current breakfast worth risking your health after 70? Make the switch tomorrow and feel the difference within days. What will you choose for breakfast tomorrow? This decision may seem small, but its compounding effect over years is enormous. Habit 6, morning social connection. The morning ritual that's more powerful than any supplement for extending your life. Meaningful human connection. Did you know that isolation affects your body as dramatically as smoking 15 cigarettes a day? What most people don't realize is that when this connection happens, matters almost as much as the connection itself. A landmark 80-year Harvard study revealed that morning social connections increase longevity more significantly than quitting smoking or exercising. Dr. Robert Miller, who led the latest phase of this multi-generational research, states, "We found that participants who engaged in some form of meaningful social contact before 10 a.m. had 29% lower all-cause mortality over the study period." Morning social interaction appears to set neurotransmitter patterns that benefit cardiovascular and immune function throughout the day. In Okinawa, Japan, home to some of the world's longest-lived people, Nancy observed a fascinating pattern while researching centenarians. Each morning, neighbors would gather briefly before starting their days, some for just 5 minutes of conversation. One 97-year-old woman explained, "If I don't speak to someone in the morning, my whole day feels wrong. We check on each other every morning. It's how we've lived so long." When researchers measured her inflammatory markers and compared them to socially isolated seniors, the differences were striking, equivalent to being decades younger biologically. Here are 3 ways to incorporate this life-extending habit tomorrow morning. First, make a brief morning call to a friend or family member. Even 3 minutes counts. Second, if you live with others, create a meaningful morning check-in ritual rather than passing like ships in the night. Third, if you live alone, consider establishing a regular morning meeting with neighbors or friends, even once a week to start. Can't do any of these? Even a friendly exchange with a barista or store clerk activates some of the same biological benefits. The key is making human connection a non-negotiable part of your morning, just like brushing your teeth. Are you willing to prioritize this tomorrow? Your body literally cannot thrive without it, no matter what supplements or exercise regimen you follow. Who will you connect with tomorrow morning? Your body is waiting for this critical signal to activate longevity pathways. Habit 7, directed gratitude practice. What if I told you that the mental habit practiced every morning by people who live well into their 90s isn't just about positive thinking? It's about a directed, intentional gratitude practice that triggers measurable changes in the brain and body. This isn't just vague advice to be thankful. It's a specific technique that activates longevity pathways, helping you live longer and healthier. Neuroscientists at Yale University have discovered that morning gratitude practices can physically restructure the aging brain, reducing cortisol levels by 23%. Dr. Sarah Jenkins, a leading researcher in neuroplasticity in aging adults, says, "We can actually see brain changes on fMRI scans when seniors practice directed gratitude consistently in the morning. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation, shows increased activity similar to much younger brains." Why does gratitude work best in the morning? Timing is everything. Dr. Jenkins emphasizes that this effect is significantly stronger when gratitude is practiced within 1 hour of waking. Why? Because your brain is in a more malleable state during this period. Your neural pathways are particularly receptive, And introducing a positive, structured thought pattern sets the tone for your entire day. The result? Enhanced emotional regulation, reduced stress response, and a brain that physically adapts to operate more youthfully. This is especially critical as you age, as the prefrontal cortex naturally loses volume over time. But consistent morning gratitude can counteract this decline, keeping your brain resilient and responsive. Patricia's story, the power of directed gratitude. Let me introduce you to Patricia, a 74-year-old woman who had been battling hypertension for years. Despite following her doctor's recommendations and taking medication, her blood pressure remained stubbornly high. Her cardiologist was increasingly worried about her heart function. Then Patricia attended a wellness seminar where she learned about the impact of directed gratitude on cardiovascular health. Intrigued, she decided to give it a try. Every morning, right after her breathing exercises, she would place her hand over her heart and express gratitude for 3 specific parts of her body. Her focus wasn't just on saying, "I'm thankful," but on why she was thankful. For instance, "I'm grateful for my eyes because they let me see my grandchildren's faces. I'm grateful for my legs because they carry me on my morning walks. I'm grateful for my heart because it has faithfully supported me for all these years." This small, consistent practice took just 2 minutes. Within 3 months, Patricia's blood pressure stabilized, and her heart rate variability, a key marker of cardiovascular health, improved by 31%. "My doctor was stunned," Patricia shared. "He asked if I had changed my medication, but I told him it was just my morning thinking pattern. He didn't believe it until he saw the consistent readings." The science behind directed gratitude. What makes directed gratitude so effective? It's not just wishful thinking. Gratitude that is specific and directed toward the body triggers a shift in the nervous system, reducing stress hormones and increasing the release of dopamine and serotonin. This reduces inflammation and strengthens immune function. Studies show that gratitude practices can 1. Reduce the risk of cardiovascular events by improving heart rate variability. 2. Enhance emotional regulation, protect